We've got some exciting news from the folks at ArcelorMittal dofasco, a major employer, and not just here, but of course on a global basis. And they talked to Hamilton City Council about the next steps on that. And to talk about that and a few other items I want to get to as well, please do welcome back John Best. John, of course, is the publisher of the Bay Observer. Always a pleasure, John. Thanks for the time today. I hope you're staying warm.
Yes, I am. And I was out there for a little while this morning, Bill, and I'm so pleased to be back inside. It's really cold.
Yeah, we did the walking of the dog, and then she looked up at me like, "You sure let's just pack this in today." So we took a rain check on it. So anyway, as one of my colleagues referred to this, this is kind of a cryogenic kind of weather. So be careful if you're going out. But some good news that ought to warm your heart a little bit. We talked, I guess it was a few months ago, John, about the federal government's announcement about their partnering with ArcelorMittal dofasco to turn the production of steel in this area green. And Tony Valeri from ArcelorMittal was in front of Hamilton City Council and explaining exactly what had to happen, which includes, something that I guess a few of the councillors weren't totally comfortable with, and that was the installation of an extra natural gas line to basically fuel, I guess, what's going on. Could you maybe explain what this is all about?
Sorry, Bill, I thought you were playing a clip.
No, you go ahead.
Well, it's kind of a two-phase plan, to be honest. And the first phase is simply getting rid of coal, and the only thing that's available from a technological standpoint as we speak is switching over to a cleaner fuel like natural gas. The amount of fuel that is going to be needed is going to require a 12-inch pipeline. That's a pretty big pipeline for gas. Many years ago, I worked a little bit in the gas distribution industry, and that's a big piece of pipe when you're talking about moving gas. The amount of gas they need to do this switchover is roughly equivalent to all the other gas that's being used in the city of Hamilton right now. So that gives you an idea of the scope of the project. And what it's going to require is from Enbridge's terminal up on Rymel Road, they have to get down to the dofasco plant. So they're proposing running the pipeline down, basically the shortest route would be down Centennial Parkway, along Barton, and then down Kenilworth to the plant. And while any pipeline work is disruptive, that would probably be the least disruptive because all utilities run along these roads.
But there are some people that just seem to have a natural distaste for pipelines. Is that going to be a problem here?
Well, it was a bit of a problem. There were a couple of speakers at the council meeting where this was discussed. And, I mean, how you find bad news out of something that is essentially going to there's so much reduction in emissions here, Bill, that it's actually going to reduce Ontario's emissions by around 10%. And the city of Hamilton, with its declared environmental emergency, they have a goal of reducing carbon output by 50% by 2030, which is only 7 years away. This project alone will contribute more than half of that. And my thought was it'll be interesting to see how Hamilton does with its 45% of that, whether they'll be anywhere near there. So it's big in every way, and yet there were some people that were trying to find some bad news in the message. Any expansion of gas lines makes that sector nervous because I'm not sure why it makes them nervous because there's only so many people that can use natural gas. And, obviously the city's going to grow and there will be some expansion of use of natural gas, but overall, this is just a good news story, Bill, and it's hard to see the bad news. It's the old story of the perfect getting in the way of the pretty good, and that's what's happening here. I don't think it's going to, based on what I heard around the council table, I think at the end of the day, this is not going to have any issue there. I think it'll be approved. So because they asked Tony Valeri at one point, What happens if this isn't approved? Well, what happens is they keep burning coal because they're entitled to do that under, they've been grandfathered, and naturally everybody would like to see them stop doing that. But it's a pretty good news story, and a lot of credit should go to Tony Valeri. He was the one who had the most to do with the direct negotiations with the two levels of government, brought $900 million into this city of senior government money. That's that's quite an accomplishment.
Well, there was always a concern. I don't want to go too far back in history here, with the move towards environmentally friendly technologies and non-fossil fuels, et cetera, that was going to spell, the end of heavy industry here in Hamilton, especially, which, cut its teeth as a steel industry, major contributor. But this technology indicates that that's not going to happen. I mean, what ArcelorMittal has done, and I agree with, by the way, I think Tony Valeri takes a lot of the credit for this, is pivoted the steel industry into the 21st century. And as you say, this is a good news story. I know some of the councilors are saying, well, what about other forms of energy? I don't know what they're thinking, but these guys do their homework, and this is the best possible and most effective way to do this thing. I'm not suggesting you simply rubber stamp it, but this is one of those situations where I wish that councilors would do their homework before they started talking about this thing and got understanding of the depth of what's going on here and the need for it, really.
Well, it is a generally positive thing, and if you combine that, I mean, think about it. We're moving. Stelco has already stopped making steel in Hamilton. Their blast furnaces are shut down, and that'll, of course, eventually mean there'll be no coke made here. So we're you might say, in less than a generation, we're seeing both of the major blast furnace operations shut down in this community, and we're still making steel. In fact, we're making more steel now probably than they've ever made. So, it's going to create a significant change, a measurably significant change in the airshed, both in Hamilton and anywhere downstream of here.
Well, it's, as I say, a good news story, and here's hoping that the council is going to see the light on that.